Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is to help you create ecosystems and environments where people thrive. Today's guest, she is doing some cutting edge work, truly impactful, transformative work in the educational system. And she's going to be talking to us on a framework that she has that is transforming lives, empowering minds, and really, when I first heard it, I wish I would have had this when I was a student, when I was sitting in a classroom as a student. And even I wish I had this as a thought partner and as a resource when I was a teacher. Natalie, how are you, my friend?
Goodness, what an intro. Thank you.
Of course. It's so good to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Of course. Look, your background is like all teacher, and I just love it.
I'll explain what's happened in a couple minutes.
No,
Things
for
have
sure.
pivoted a lot in the last couple days here.
Hey, I like it. I like it. Pivots are, look, I see pivots, but then I see purpose-driven decisions so that we can be able to empower, transform, and be able to inspire people more intentionally. So before we get started, can you just talk about who you are and what is the story that got you to this moment, to this place that you're at?
I'm Natalie Paramenter, founder of Primary Focus, the Parent's Guide to Elementary School. I was a teacher for 10 years. I loved teaching. It really brought me so much joy. And when I left teaching, I didn't want to end this, everything I had built, everything that I had studied. I wanted to find a way to extend education and just do that in my own way. So I always loved working with parents. I worked in a variety of different schools. So in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was a TFA, Teach for America Corps member when I started out in 2012, taught at a school that needed a lot of resources and was not getting the resources that it needed. But I learned a lot about what strong community looks like and the way that people were stepping up, to make sure that the kids were getting the quality education that they needed, getting the supplies that they needed. And I think that was a really important experience for me to see that community is one of the most important things that you can have. I taught internationally after that at an international school. And that was the same kind of thing. Like people who are living internationally feel very vulnerable at times, feel very far away from home. And I loved working with the parents there because there was a lot of education that had to happen. We're, moving in between cultures, speaking a lot of different languages here.
Yeah.
And I saw the same support that the parents needed back home in Charlotte was the same thing on the international level that they need too. Like everybody wants to help their kids, but not everybody has studied to be a teacher or had a career in education. And then when I came back to the United States and continued to teach, I just really loved to work with parents and with caretakers and really nurture them so that they can give their kids the best education possible. Teachers are magical, schools are incredible, but they are the ones who keep this going all 18 years and beyond that. There's a lot of tools that I think parents, that teachers know and educators know like that, it's second nature to them. We're just doing these things every single day. And that is not second nature for parents and caretakers.
Exactly.
So I loved a parent-teacher conference. I always was the one that was like, let's do curriculum night, I'll speak. And so when it came time for me to leave the classroom, Primary Focus was born. It started as a YouTube channel where I was repurposing a lot of the essays and the research and things that I did when I was getting my master's degree into parent and caretaker friendly language, things that they could implement immediately, watch out for, the real things that you need to be kind of concerned and looking out for, and then the things that really will pass. You just got to give it a little bit of time. You got to struggle before you can succeed. And it's grown into public speaking from there, workshops. I continued of the YouTube channel, my newsletter, social media, any way that I can get to parents and give them information to support their kids so that they thrive in elementary school.
I love that. I love that. And look, Little Focus is behind me and Primary Focus. Can we talk about what's the difference? What's this new realization that you had?
Let's talk about Little Focus. So you and I both live in the Charlotte area right now. And something really concerning that's happened in the last 4 or 5 days here is
Yep.
that Border Patrol has started an enormous operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. People are being taken off the streets. Workplaces are being raided. It has been like a tornado coming through our city. And I was thinking over the weekend, from the moment that I heard this announcement, I was like, oh my God, not my city. Like, I've been watching what's been happening across the country, and it's been happening here on a lower level, but to know that it's a like targeted invasion,
Exactly. Yep.
an invasion feels like the right word here. I just kept thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I sit, in a very nice place of privilege. I am white. I am a citizen. I have a long lineage of citizens in my family.
Yeah.
And, what is my part in the community here? And so I've protested and I've donated and I've found my way, but my heart kept going back to all of the kids that just started winter break and are sort of on winter break indefinitely, and that are cooped up at home and don't really know why they're cooped up at home, probably not really understanding what's going on. And I just kept thinking about how sad that is, and how many, and we've seen it, like something like 30,000 kids didn't go to school on Monday in Charlotte.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And we all know learning loss is one of the biggest threats to kids' education. So I said, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I know people say, if you can't do, then teach, as an insult. But in this moment, it felt like, what can I do? I'm going to teach. So that is where Little Focus came to be. It started on Monday. It is now Wednesday. I am sitting at my whiteboard. I just finished the live stream and then I hopped on with you. And so for about 30 minutes every weekday morning, I am doing a small literacy lesson for kids. And, I know it won't replace school, but just to keep them sharp, just to keep them, exposed to literature, doing a little bit of handwriting, doing some phonics. It's designed for kids that are probably kindergarten, first grade, so 4 to 7-ish years old. But all are welcome. I'm also doing some fundraising as well through this effort. So all proceeds will go to the Carolina Migrant Network, which provides free legal support for people for immigration-related issues. And then I'm also working with an anonymous neighborhood association that is supporting its neighbors with rent, groceries, supplies, anything that they might need during this time that people feel unsafe to leave their homes. So yeah, you're sitting, I've got my whiteboard behind me. I've turned back into Miss Parmenter, doing it. I'll be honest, it feels good to teach again. But I just really hope that it's helping families keep their kids sharp during this time.
I really appreciate that, Natalie. I do. And I've been having a lot of conversations with leaders in education, but then also colleagues and friends of mine. And the question that I haven't been able to answer is, what more can I do? Being here in Charlotte, North Carolina, stepping out of the classroom, stepping out of leadership roles, but then hearing some of the things that are going on. It's been tough. It's been tough. But I didn't want to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. So you just inspired me to be able to do something. Why, I guess, what inspired you to really do this work? Because it could be controversial to most. It could be something that could disrupt or destroy your brand as well. And it's making a stance. Why is this work important to you?
I think it's really important. So I have always been very in touch with what's going on in the news, with politics, in particular, education politics. And so before I took this action today, one of the goals of Primary Focus is to always keep parents informed with what is going on with our education system. Education is inherently political. And I understand those that are in the classroom still might feel nervous or intimidated because a lot of districts do hold their teachers to a very high standard of silence, unfortunately. And so from the beginning of Primary Focus, I have had to learn how to find my voice to educate, but also be comfortable sharing my informed opinion based on my experiences and based on my studies and what I know. And so when having a history of that and getting comfortable using my voice over the last few years, because it's not easy, it's hard. And, I have missed the mark before. I have spoken too soon before I understood what was going on. But I think years of practicing that and building that muscle
Of course,
really helped me understand, like, no, like, it's not going to be if I do something, it's going to be what am I doing? How am I doing it? What's the impact going to be? Um, and so, as I thought about everything this weekend, I've been donating to other causes. I've been trying to use my voice. I've been to a protest. But this felt like a really natural way for me to also give back too. I had the time. I mean, unfortunately, it's only like a 20 to 30-minute live stream because I got other stuff going on. But
Of course.
um, it it just feels like this is an assault on our community.
Mhm.
And if you live in Charlotte or if you live in another community where this has happened, like, I drove during rush hour on Monday and the roads were empty.
Mm.
The stores are closed. I hear about these raids and it's like they're talking about intersections that I drive down. I make a left turn on Archdale twice a week. What do you mean that
Yeah,
they're pulling people out of businesses there? So just trying to find the way to amplify, to fundraise, to support. But like, I also don't want Natalie to be in the center of this. I'm not trying to take myself and put it in the center. I'm just trying to be a resource in the way too. So that's something I've been thinking about, is like finding that balance of spreading the word, because ultimately I want my words and my money and my support to go to the right people
of course.
and not just be in the echo chamber of people shouting, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I think that's the challenge that we often see, is that there's a lot of noise, but there's not a lot of people that are doing the work.
Mm.
Especially in the educational realm. I really appreciate your sentiments and your compassion for teachers that are currently in spaces, because I've had a lot of teachers that have reached out and said, like, look, this is what's happening, but our school boards or our directors are pretty much saying that we can't speak out on these various things. Natalie, I do have a question though. How would you encourage that teacher? How would you encourage that
Mm.
leader, whether they're in the classroom or out of the classroom, to use their voice? Because you said something powerful, that it took you time to find your voice, but oftentimes time isn't what we have. We don't have years, we don't have months. What would be your words to encourage someone right now to use their voice to being able to create change in our communities?
I think what I would tell teachers is that people really listen to teachers, right? Like, we are a profession that we have to pick our words out carefully. Um, and this is a great time to use your voice, to share what's going on in your school, what you've seen, what you've heard, because I never felt more in touch with the community than when I was in the classroom. You are a representative of the neighborhood, what
Yeah,
is going on, and you can share what's going on without, sharing identities, without sharing the name of the school that you work at, and still say, like, look, this is what I'm seeing. Something that I did a lot too when I was a teacher, I did a lot of quiet fundraising for my class.
that's good.
And I would go on just my own personal Instagram page and I would say, like, hey guys, listen, I got this anonymous student and like mom reached out to me and said, like, rent's not going to be made this month and we're worried. Like, can we just do like a quick crowd fund here?
Mhm.
And you would be surprised. I mean, you can't abuse that privilege, of course, but like, you'd be surprised at how excited people are to give, especially if you are trusted in your community. And um, there are little things that you can be doing like that, but I think speaking out is really important. And if you're a teacher right now and you're listening to this and you're sitting on a post and you're afraid to hit post on it, like, send it to me. I've done this a lot and I can let you know the
Yeah,
parts where people will pick apart your words, and the stuff that, like, a lot of the stuff that kept me up at night, nobody even noticed. People are excited. And honestly, if somebody is fighting you back or trolling you or anything for what you're saying, like, that's proof people are listening. You
so
always got to have a small percentage of
yeah,
that to know that you are breaking through and doing the right thing.
I agree. And I really appreciate it. And it kind of talks a little bit about what you mentioned earlier about the power of community. And I
Mm.
think for me, relationships are the highest form of currency. But in any space that I've been in, community has been so important for me to either have people hold me accountable before I post something, or just, help encourage me to be able to use that voice more often. When people are developing their own community, what are the first steps? And why do you believe community is so important, whether in education and just in our lives in general?
When you think about yourself as a community leader, I think you have to think about what spirit you're bringing to the group, right? Like, the people that are at the front that are running the show, and of course you want to let other people in your community use their voices, but like you're going to inspire all of the energy first. So I think you have to consider like, how do you enter a room? How do you show up like day to day or at work in the staff meeting? Like, are you the person that always complains, or are you the person that's like present, doing the right thing, and like you're not afraid to make something better, right? I think there's a difference there. Like we've all worked with somebody that is mad that they have to work, and they're not making a difference in this life.
Yeah.
They're just collecting a paycheck.
Exactly.
And then we've worked with people that like are mad, are passionate, or like are critical because they want it to be better and they want to make the community a better place. And you don't always have to be critical either. Some of it is just like making sure that the energy continues. You know, a fear that a lot of schools have is like their PTA fizzling out, for example. These are parent volunteer run organizations. And there's a lot of strategy that goes in to get parents that have like the youngest grade level involved quickly. And if you're a parent listening right now, you might have felt this pressure and be like, whoa, I just got here. Like, how can I take on a community role? And I understand that, but like, you don't have to become PTA. I mean, you could become PTA president, but like, you don't have to do that first, but like get involved, watch the communities that you like and how other people are leading it, and figure out how you can be that person too. You know, you don't have to talk about everything. I think it's easy to feel a lot of pressure to have your community take care of every last individual on earth and, believe in every single cause. And like, you're going to wear yourself out if you're doing that too. So what are the pillars? What are the things that are really important to you? Those pillars can change over time. You can add a pillar for 6 months and take it away once it's, handled or isn't the main focus anymore. But, be that example of the person that you want in front, friendly, approachable, passionate, not afraid to swat things out of the way to stay on guide with the mission, and pick out those pillars that are really going to make a difference, and the kind of things that like get you up every morning. I'm not a morning person, but like I'm going to live stream and put on makeup every morning and do this like. And you got to find the things that make you feel that way too. Because a lot of things feel, very sexy at first, but like 6 months later, when you are just like doing the admin part of it, does it still feel like something that you want to keep this moving forward?
Something that's really meaningful, that's driving you. I love what you mentioned, like the pillars. And, Natalie, I'm interested, like, what are the pillars that matter most to you? Like, what is that mission that is truly driving you to show up every morning and put on makeup and show up, even though you're not a morning person, to continue to speak out and continue to do this work despite some of the challenges that we see worldwide in education? Yeah.
Well, so first and foremost, education is one of a child's rights. The UN has, we talk about human rights. The UN actually has a list of children's rights, and something that they try to ensure children around the world have, and education is at the very top of that list, right? Along with things like a safe home, free from war and conflict, and then education. And I come from a family that has always really valued education, and I see what a gift it has been to me and my family and the people in my life to have a strong education, because it's the keys to freedom. It's the keys to the life you want as an adult, to have that. So that is always a driving force behind me of like, what am I doing to support the people that keep the education going? Because it can be really, really frustrating. So then from there, like a lot of the work that I'm doing, most of the work Primary Focus does is about educating parents and caretakers. So, and this can be, it's vague from there. Like one of the biggest things that I'm known for is helping parents pick out the right type of schooling for their child. I think there's a lot of talk about like good school and bad school, and everyone wants it to be so black and white. They want to go on greatschools.org and they want to go have the 10 school. Well, like, I'm sorry to break it to you, like these school rating sites are fluff. They're not even associated with schools or anything. They just make up these ratings. And so in the Charlotte area, we have a very robust magnet program, a lot of really cool charter schools, a lot of cool private schools, and it can become decision fatigue for parents to research and figure out what's right. I understand all these buzzwords. And I also understand like kids with different strengths and weaknesses do better at different schools, right?
Yeah.
Like I think one example is Montessori schools, for example, are really popular, especially in early childhood education.
Yeah.
I think Montessori schools are doing really amazing work. And there's a lot of kids who thrive in Montessori schools. But there are certain personality types that don't do as well in these schools. There are certain kids that like are not ready to be pushed to that level of independence, and they need a teacher that's just going to coddle them a little bit more, or a teacher that's going to guide them a little bit more. And so like I've taught kids that were pulled out of Montessori school. We're doing horrible at the Montessori school. Came in 3 weeks in my class. They're doing great. What they needed was a little bit more of a traditional public school approach to build the confidence to get there. So I talk a lot about schools, but I also support parents when all these bumps come in the road, right? Like teachers sending home the test scores and you don't understand what they mean, and you can tell something is wrong, but you don't know, the first way of helping. And, teachers trying to help, but they're busy. They have so many kids to work with. I will sit with you and I will tell you like, okay, we got to really dive in on this. Like these are the activities that you should be doing with your child. These are going to be the signs that they're improving, and these are going to be the signs that they're not improving, right? And just really help them dissect it. And then also like if they get into issues with the school, like maybe there is a issue with discipline that feels really confusing, or your child is clashing with the teacher, not getting along, like talking as kind of that friendly freelance teacher on the side that is there to help you cool off a little bit, talk to somebody who's not fully involved, but also deeply understands what's going on, and be that kind of third party that can translate in between. So I know I've kind of gotten all over the place, but a lot of what I want to do is really support parents, because there's so much pressure to have your child succeed in this system, but there's just no education or very little education to actually support them as they go through these things, and understand like, what is the consistent day-to-day stuff that we can do, and just, set it and forget it kind of routine things. What are the things that you need to be jumping on? And then what are the things that they'll work themselves out, or it's just not a big deal?
I really appreciate your response, though, because I think there's a lot of complexities that schools don't recognize parents have to face. And if you work within the educational system, obviously you're much more abreast of the various challenges or things, simple things like sending test scores home. I've worked in education, so when I receive MAP scores or these various test scores, I understand how to read them, but mom may not. So now that requires me to be able to communicate with her. But if I didn't work in education, then I wouldn't necessarily know how to even read these scores as well. But I want to point on something that you said earlier, because I'm so passionate about that, as well as in regards to all schools aren't for all students. And just because the community is saying that it's a great school, and that's a societal consensus in a sense, may not be the best school. It may not be the best school for your child. Can you talk to parents that are listening that are trying to maybe transfer schools or identify best schools? How do you identify what's your rubric for a great school, or how to best tell a parent what school they should design or desire for their student?
I think there's two kind of angles that you want to look at. And I'm going to speak about general education, because I think children that have learning disabilities or special needs need even more on top of what we're talking about. And unfortunately, also their list can narrow if they are looking for very niche programs.
Yeah.
But in general, I think you want to look for two kind of things, and that is some of the basic test scores and things like that. There's sites like the North Carolina School Report Card that can give you really interesting information about how the school has been performing over time. And a site I love is called Rise Kids, and Savannah would be a great person to have on this podcast. Rise takes the information from the North Carolina Report Cards and repurposes it so it's less focused on a letter grade or things that people can just like take and make an instant judgment, and actually guides people to dive into this data and see how they're doing, and shares the demographics of the school as well. Rise, RYSE Kids. That information is really great, but it doesn't paint the whole picture of the school. And so I never want somebody just to look at data and nothing else, because that data in elementary school only starts at third grade. So if you're looking at like starting at the pre-K, kindergarten, first grade level, like it only tells you so much information.
Yeah.
Also, standardized tests, I don't know. I could have a whole podcast with you
I
about why
know.
I hate standardized testing. We can make a lot of predictions about how kids will score the day that they're born based on their zip code, color of their skin, and parents' highest education level.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to judge the entire heart of a school and its character
Yeah.
on that. So the other part, which I really lean into, is the heart of a school. And these are going to be things like, what kind of traditions are they running in this school? What are the things that make the kids come back every single day? Is there, are there special events that are happening? And an event could be anything from like a literal fall festival that's happening on the weekend. It also could be like Storytime Teller Friday, where parents are coming in and reading, or Spirit Day on Thursdays, where we all wear the school colors and we do a big chant together in the auditorium. It's really popular for a lot of schools to have these like whole school morning meetings, or they do a house system, which if you read Harry Potter, you remember the kids are in like 4 houses. This has become very popular in American schools.
Yeah.
Now, there's no magic or anything happening, of course, but the kids get put into a house and the houses have these friendly competitions with each other and they earn points, and it's really exciting for the kids. So you want to look, what are these things that are going to keep them coming back? How are you going to be supported as well, too? If having a big community is important to you, you want that. Having the fundraising at a school is really important. And if you come to a school that is struggling with fundraising, are you the person that's going to bring this in? Because all it takes is a volunteer to sit up and say like, okay, let's get this stuff together. People will give. They just need somebody to tell them when and how, right? So a lot of these things I think encompass the heart of the school. There's also a couple logistical things you should look at. A lot of people feel like, you need to be a hero and drive an hour each way to send your kid to the best school. And like, in a lot of big cities and things, you don't have to do that. Finding the right school for your child is not like finding your soulmate. There's arguably quite a few places that your child will do great at. So pick a school that fits into your daily life, like that. Dropping them off in the morning or getting them on the bus is no big deal. Check the bell schedule of the school, check the location. Do they have an after school program or before school program, maybe in-house? Or do they work with a local daycare or something where your child can take the little van goes through the carpool line and they get sent off to kindercare, no problem. These are the kind of things too that are going to make you a better person. I think we all know parents and caretakers are running really low on bandwidth. And you're going to be better for it if you set your life up in a way that your child's school is convenient for you and for your family too.
What should parents know outside of just choosing schools? I know this is the bulk of your work is ensuring that parents and caretakers have the best possible experience for their children once they enter in school and even during that process. What would you want parents to know that they're maybe not thinking about, or maybe it's a challenge that you frequently get? What would you want those parents to know?
I want parents to know that they work on a team with their teacher and with the school. I think a lot of us, the last time we entered an elementary school was when we were in elementary school, and it feels like you're giving up power when you are going into the school. And I felt this a lot when I was teaching too, like parents that would sit there and literally say, "Yes, ma'am," to me the whole time I was talking. "Do you have any questions?" "No, ma'am. I understand." I'm like, well, this wasn't class. This was supposed to be a conversation. Yes, I'm presenting the bulk of the information to inform you, but I never want you to walk out and feel like you didn't have any. Maybe I was that good, but parent after parent after parent with, yes, ma'ams and no questions. That tells me that there's some sort of a power dynamic going on here. And so if you feel that way when you go into a school, like I would encourage you to crack a joke with them. And you don't have to rag on your kid or anything, but like sometimes you can say like, "Oh boy, hopefully they grow out of that." Or, "They did the cutest thing this morning." Like people are just people, right? And that includes teachers and principals. And the more you feel comfortable in the school space, the easier it will be to have these conversations, and it won't feel so scary and intimidating and like you're going into a fight when something does happen. It shouldn't feel that way. And the school has responsibility to make you feel good too. But I think there's a lot of like inner unpacking that needs to happen. I think people do this when they go to the doctor as well too. Like they, have a lot of respect and they're intimidated to talk, or feels like the doctor has no time, so you can't say anything. But pull people back. You can make people sit down and talk to you, and hopefully you're not getting that treatment at school. But you're on a team, and everybody is playing on the same team with the intention of making your child succeed and thrive in school and grow up to be a wonderful adult one day.
What are some questions that parents could ask to to lower that, hierarchy between, hey, it's not teacher here and then parent here and then student below that. It's, hey, we're on the same team to be able to move the student forward in their educational journey. What are some questions or some considerations that parents can make to be able to lower that barrier between teachers and parents so that they can be able to create a better relationship moving forward?
I think for parents, maybe have just check in sometimes, get used to talking to the teacher. And that's not going to be on a daily basis, but like maybe once a month, send a quick note in, or pop in at the school. Just try to have a friendly interaction where maybe you're not really talking about anything. Maybe your child came home and said they loved something in class this week. Like, email the teacher, let them know, like, hey, such and such is talking about what you did, and like just wanted to say thanks. They're loving school right now. Stuff like that. You do that once, twice, 3 times. It goes a really long way. I also think it's fair to say to a teacher, like, look, I'm intimidated right now. Like, I had a tough time when I was in school, or, this is my first child. I'm a little bit nervous. Like, sometimes just saying the thing, addressing the elephant in the room, can totally help out, because, I used to, I've had parents say that to me before too. And it's made me realize, like, okay, I need to like slow down for a second. I need to, I'm on autopilot here, and I don't need to be like, let's kind of fix this conversation. I think that helps. That kind of thing helps a lot, just to get going. And then one thing I would say too, I think it's hard to give teachers feedback, and you can always keep it child-centered. One thing that a lot of teachers do is they try to focus on the whole child and the child's future. So like any purpose that they give, they'll say like, we're doing this because we care about your child. We want them to succeed. We want them to move forward.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you're giving feedback, you can do the same thing. So one conversation that I had, this was a child that was raising their hand a lot during class, blurting. We were having a lot of issues with that. And we had a pretty serious conversation about what was going on. And the mom very gently said to me, like, my biggest concern right now is that my child doesn't like school, and I want my child to go to school and like it every day. And there's a lot of anxiety coming from whole group instruction on the rug, because they really, really want to participate. They're struggling to raise their hand, and they're being told to be quiet.
That's good.
And they came to me and said they don't like school anymore. They don't want to raise their hand anymore. And being able to say it that way, listen, teachers are people. They might need a second to go think about that. But like, that to me immediately was, you're telling me your kid isn't enjoying school. I need to fix that. Yeah. Something's going wrong here, because the goal is for them to be asking to come back at the end of every single day, especially in kindergarten. Yeah. And I thought that was really brave of that parent. And she put it to me in a way that like was the same way I would give feedback to a parent about what's going on too. So if you can keep things child-centered for the better of the child, I think you can get really far that way too, and not have to feel like you're, fighting for your life during this conference or whatever it is.
One thing that I appreciate about you, Natalie, is that one, you have done this work. So you're speaking from a place of experience. You're speaking from a place from your heart as well, to really genuinely help parents understand how to create the best environments for their children to succeed. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that we all have to essentially go through this period of struggle before succeeding. What was one of the most pertinent struggles that you experienced in your story, in your background, that helped set the foundation to where you are today?
Oh gosh, so many stories. I was a terrible teacher when I first started teaching. I really, really wanted to be a good teacher, but I had a lot to learn. I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned was to be myself a little bit more. I thought being a teacher needed to have this caricature attached to it of exactly what I was just talking about, like a little bit of a power dynamic, a little bit of like, and I was definitely young and feeling self-conscious that I was young in the beginning. And I think the more I was myself and the more I, approach things with curiosity and was able just to say like, hey, this is a thing that I'm seeing. Can you tell me more? And the more I learned to like joke around with parents and have a smile on my face and, start with something positive, the better feedback that I got and the better community that I built, both with my students and with families too. So I think being yourself, and as I started Primary Focus too, this is much more public facing, whether I'm speaking to a group of people. I put a lot of content out online, both videos and blogs and things. And I really had to embrace being myself, not being perfect, and being really human. And I think that's the best way to build connection with people.
I think that we have a lot of these podcasts and content and speaking engagements, but oftentimes we don't really show who we are. And I love what you mentioned earlier. Like there's an unpacking that has to happen. And I believe in the story that allows us to have authentic engagement and truly connect with other people as well. What is one thing that you would want people to know about you, or even a question that you wish you could answer that people don't really take the time to ask you?
I wish people knew that I'm really fun and I think I'm really funny. And I know we've been getting into like the real stuff and the heart stuff and the work today. But we are coming up to a season of teacher gift guides and things like this. And I am known for popping off on the internet about bad gifts that people give teachers because it is really funny and I think it's very relatable. But a lot of people think I am the worst person on earth and I'm ungrateful and all this kind of stuff. And like, I wish those people could understand, like, this is all very funny and it is very stupid. And we all get bad gifts around the holiday season. Yeah. And you're allowed to laugh about things and I'm allowed to laugh about things. And that's part of the realness too. So if you ever feel like I'm unapproachable or anything like that, just know, like, we are all here to have the best time that we can on this earth. I am here to leave this place a little bit better than I found it. And I'm really passionate about what I do. You're probably really passionate about what you do too. No. So I want to hear about it. Like, let's make this place better,
I love that. Well, since we're on the topic of gifts, I had this app that was shared with me the other day called Elfster. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I've used that before.
And so I guess for those who are wanting to get a gift for teachers so that you don't have to pop off online, what are 2 or 3 gifts that teachers would truly appreciate that would be valuable since we're in the holiday season?
Yeah, this is about the fluffiest content that I do, but I did it because so many people ask me this stuff. Yeah. So I would say the gift that is most given that you should not be giving is mugs, our mugs. Mugs. Look at you, like, you can only own so many mugs. We only have so much cabinet space. So I would avoid it, even though it is a really nice gift. The easiest thing is a gift card. And the kindest thing is a card. I have a box of like some of the most heartfelt caring cards that I've gotten from families and from students over the years. So if you feel like you don't have a lot of physical things to give this year, give a little piece of your heart to that teacher, share a memory from class or, something that happened that your child is better for it. Send an email and CC the principal on it. That was always something I loved. Those kinds of things, but you don't have to go, if you know the teacher and you find a gift that you think really matches their personality and is great, I say go for it, because that comes from a really nice place. But, if you're just going and getting a handful of mugs and being like, everybody gets a mug, like
you get a mug.
Yeah, just do a $5 gift card or just send in a really nice note instead. because I would get probably easily anywhere from like 5 to 20 mugs in a single year. It would be, it's a lot of mugs.
No, it is. It's a lot of mugs, and it doesn't necessarily fit with my other mugs that I have and the place sets that we have. So I definitely understand. Natalie, you have been wonderful, and I truly appreciate your time, your heart, your wisdom, but then also your advocacy for those that don't necessarily believe that their voice matters. And you are setting the tone, creating a space, and have built a platform using your voice to show others that their voice matters too. Where can we find you online, and how can we continue to support the initiatives that you're doing?
Thank you for saying that. And thank you for lifting up my voice. If you're interested in the YouTube channel, Primary Focus on YouTube, right now, this is the November 19th, whether we're doing this for the next 2 weeks. I'll be doing the Little Focus live stream at 8:30 every morning. So you can watch those live, or you can watch the replay. They'll always live on my channel. So Primary Focus on YouTube, Primary Focus on Instagram. My website is primaryfocus.tv. You can sign up for my newsletter there, see all my videos, blogs, things like that. And if you're interested in donating to the Carolina Migrant Network and to this neighborhood association that I'm working with, you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/primaryfocus. And I will be very transparent about where that money goes, how much we raised in that process too. I'll just be splitting the funds in half.
I love it. Natalie, again, I appreciate you, truly. And if anybody is listening in, whether to the live or to the recording, follow Natalie, support to the causes, and use your voice. Your voice matters, your voice is needed, and your voice can truly transform, uplift, and empower the next generation of future leaders of our country. Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Kyle King. And one question that I always want you to think about is, what type of culture am I spreading? The energy you bring is the culture you create. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you all next episode.